bannings, full Theros spoilers out, and some other things. This is Goblin Grenade Podcast, and let's get it started. Hey everybody, this is Dahmer from Zero Trade and Value Productions, and this is episode 4 of Goblin Grenade Podcast. This time it's going to be a longer episode because Theros Beyond Death full spoiler list is out, ban and restricted announcements, and another amendment to the friggin' Brawladays stupidity that Wizards has decided to do in Arena. But first things first, as of this recording, it is January 13th, 2020. This year's first ban and restricted announcement has been made. And wouldn't you know it, a card in August 19th that I uploaded to, I think, episode 2, I'm going to put that right here. Mox Opal, my prediction, from that time ago being banned in that BNR, didn't get banned. It got banned today, folks. Mox Opal is banned in Modern, along with Oko Thief of Crowns, which makes it the fourth format that Oko Thief of Crowns has been banned in as many months. One of my friends joked that Oko gets banned once a month in a format. So that's fun. And then Mycosynth Lattice is banned. If you don't know what that card is, because it's so weird in the fact that it only gets played in a handful of decks, all permanents are artifacts in addition to their other types. All cards that aren't on the battlefield, spells and permanents, are colorless. Players may spend mana as though it were mana of any color. This pairs insanely well with Karn the Great Creator. Karn the Great Creator is for more of the spark, and his static ability is activated abilities of artifacts your opponents control can't be activated. So it's a 2-card lock combo that doesn't see a lot of play, but yet Wizards banned it today. Mox Opal got banned because Urza High Lord Artificer decks have been apparent to them dominating the modern online league play and probably on card as well. They have winning matchups against 9 of the other 10 most popular competitive decks, indicating an inability of the metagame to adjust on its own. Urza's kind of broken, we're not going to deny that, but I also said they ain't going to ban Urza either, I think, because that would be the 3rd or 4th card from their set Modern Horizons that was built for Modern to be banned. So yeah, they're not going to ban that, but Opal was long overdue for a ban. Oko Thief of Crowns, however, has become the most played card in competitive Modern, with an inclusion rate of about 40% of decks in league play and tabletop tournaments. It's the Smuggler's Copter problem. When that was in Standard, every deck played Smuggler's Copter. Almost every deck is playing Oko Thief of Crowns, even if it's not in your color scheme. Oko was also used by a number of other top modern decks. Our data indicates removing Oko alone would still leave Urza decks in a dominant position in the metagame. They considered options that would further weaken Urza-based artifact decks while still allowing for decks based around that general strategy. Also, I'm taking this from the ban and restricted announcements from Ian Duke that was posted today as well, so it's almost verbatim. But the fast mana in the early game of Mox Opal has long contributed to strategies that seek to end the game quickly and suddenly, whether with explosive attacks, one-turn win combos, or locking out an opponent with prison elements. Basically locking out, the Karn and Mycosynth Lattice combo that I just talked about a few moments ago. But they did acknowledge the fact that Mox Opal has historically been a part of decks that approach problematic impact on the metagame or did indeed necessitate other bans. This is true. Other cards died for the sins of Mox Opal. When it comes to Pioneer, no bans restricted in Pioneer. They're actually listening to the chatter online and people talking about Walking Ballista and Heliod's Sun Crown. We'll get to that card in a bit. The basis is it's a 2-card combo. You give Walking Ballista lifelink and then just keep taking counters off of Ballista to ping your opponent for a life, and then when you gain life, put a counter on a creature. We'll get into that interaction in a second. I think Ballista stays in Pioneer. I think Heliod's going to get banned in Pioneer. One of those 2 cards is not making it out in the next few months of Pioneer. Let's just say that. So this is Walking Ballista. It's from Aether Revolt. It's an XX casting spell based artifact. You tap 4 mana, you get 2 counters on it. It enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. 4 colorless mana, put a 1/1 counter on Walking Ballista. Remove a +1/+1 counter from Walking Ballista. It deals 1 damage to target creature or player. It has been a very good card, and the joke is good card is good card. With Heliod's Sun's Crowned, whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or enchantment you control. And all it takes to activate this combo is having Heliod on the field, Walking Ballista, and 2 open mana, one of which needs to be white, because another target creature gains lifelink until end of turn. You don't have to pay to take the Ballista counters off. Simple as that. You know, take a counter off a Ballista, ping your opponent for 1 point of damage, gain 1 point of life, put that counter right back on Ballista. I really think, though, Heliod Sun Crown might be the card that gets banned. I've been wrong before, but I've also been right. Just late, you know, with Mox Opal. So that's been basically the BNR portion of this. I'm going to go into the amendment to Brawladays. Yeah, they're going to continue doing it. Apparently, a lot of people like paying $15 for the privilege to play Brawl on Arena. Financially speaking, good on Wizards for making more money. Bad on Wizards for kind of sort of killing your format. Again, this is the second time I feel they've killed Brawl format. The first was when they introduced Brawl format, which is an offshoot of a commander-ish type of thing called Tiny Leaders, where you can only have, as your, it's 60 card deck, and you can only have as a commander something, I think, 3 mana or less. And all spells you have to play have to be 3 mana or less. So they kind of tweaked it a little bit and created Brawl. Shit has not gone good, except for Arena to pay to play Brawl. You don't have to. You can open challenge your friends and whatnot, but I don't know. I don't like it. The fact also that they're making Tarlane the next promo card as well doesn't please me at all. Although some of the things that they announced a couple days ago, and this is sidetracking a little bit, I don't care. It's my podcast. Deal with it. When it comes to Arena, there's, you know, later in the year, they're going to have remastered historic sets. So you're going to get a remastered Amonkhet set, remastered Aether Revolt set. I think the plan is to probably make them 50 to 60 card sets, or combine, you know, like Aether Revolt, Kaladesh block, you know, those 2 sets, and just take the 50 or 60 good cards at C play and make it a mini set that you can buy packs for. That's what I think is going to happen. I like the historic anthology sets that they release. I bought a few of those cards on Arena using wild cards just to hedge my bets, and plus I want to play Memekin again, and we'll get to that at a later gameplay date. But now, the big bulk of the show is going to be not Throne, we're done with Throne. It's going to be Theros Beyond Death. The full spoiler list came out a couple days ago. I am not going to go over every single card. I'm not limited resources. I love them, but I'm not doing a 3-hour podcast detailing every card. And if you don't listen to them, listen to them. They're really good. But I'm going to start with a couple fun cards that are actually in the Planeswalker decks. It's Elsbeth and Ashiok. Those are your 2 Planeswalker decks. And Planeswalker specific cards, one of them is Sunlight Hoplite. It's 1 white, 2 power, 1 toughness, and as long as it's your turn, it has first strike. But it also gets +1/+0 as long as you control an Elsbeth Planeswalker. So that means the Planeswalker Elsbeth in the Planeswalker deck, or the Elsbeth Planeswalker in the actual set itself. It's going to be a fun card. It's a good 2-drop-ish with some good benefit to it. Then Drac Harpy from the Ashiok set. It's 3 and a black for 3 power, 2 toughness, flying creature, enchantment creature, Harpy. At the beginning of combat on your turn, each player puts the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a set, especially in the beginning, where people are messing with your graveyards and your libraries to fuel escape mechanic. And still, with the cards they've given us in this set, Mill is still an option, folks. I love playing Mill, but I'm not playing Mill. I should, though. It's fun, interesting, and no one ever expects it. The Ashiok Planeswalker itself, I might catch some shit for this, but I actually like it a lot better than the main set Ashiok. Ashiok Sculptor of Fears for a blue and a black for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. +2. Draw a card. Each player puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. Once again, we're doing MILF things. -5, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. That's pretty good. And then -11, gain control of all creature target opponent controls. Creatures. That is bonkers. It's so high, you're never going to get it. +2 ability is pretty good. Comes out turn 6, unfortunately. +2 it to get 6, and then -5 it to take control of a creature. So you get a card draw and a creature if you get lucky. And then the Elsbeth deck. It is 2 and 3 white for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. Her +2 ability, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Okay, we're doing some Johnny things with that. -2, search your library and or graveyard for a card named Sunlight Hoplite and put it into the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. So there's a nice little bit of synergy going on between the card I mentioned first and Elsbeth Undaunted Hero. And then -8, until end of turn, creatures you control gain flying and +X/+X, where X is your devotion to white. Yes, devotion is back. It counts every mana symbol on the field of permanents that you control to determine devotion. Some colors do devotion way better than others. And at the moment, I would have to say it's going to be black has the best devotion mechanics and cards for it. Green is a close second. And then white is a distant third between those. Reprint time. Field of Ruin. Cool. I don't see a need for it now. It's not as potent as it was, especially with Field of the Dead being in play. But, it's always good to, kill an opponent's shock land or a scry land or mess their land base up. I don't think it's going to be as valuable or played in standard format as much. And then the card that's probably going to see play everywhere. It's a common, too. We are talking Altar of the Pantheon. It's a 3-drop. This is going in every devotion deck, either as a 1 to 3 of. Your devotion to each color and each combination of colors is increased by 1. Tap it to add 1 mana of any color. If you control a god, a demigod, or a legendary enchantment, you gain 1 life. In a set full of gods, demigods, and legendary enchantments, this is an auto-include, plus it's mana fixing, because don't forget, fall of this year, shocklands leave standard, so you're going to need some way. And they ain't giving us the goods like that again when it comes to shocklands for quite a while. A card that's another commander card that's going to see play in a lot of formats, especially commander and standard. NYX Lotus. It's a 4-drop artifact. Comes into the battlefield tapped. Tap it, choose a color. Add an amount of mana of that color equal to your devotion to that color. So if you've got like 7 devotion out and you get to untap with NYX Lotus, you can say black, devotion, tap it. 7 mana for the low price of just tapping an artifact. The last time we saw something like this, it was a land. It was Nixthos, Shrine to Nyx. And good card is a good card. Then we have a 1-drop artifact, Shadow Spear. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, has trample and lifelink. Okay, that's going in my night deck. Not only night deck, but also my night commander deck. 1, permanents your opponent's control lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. That's pretty big. And then it's got an equip cost of 2. But the blade itself is what Elsbeth is using. And I'm pretty confident that's covered in Phyrexian oil. So I think lore-wise, we're going to have some Phyrexian shenanigans happen in the near future. If not in Ikora. And now we're going to get into actual cards and not artifacts. Oh yeah, the lands, they're reprinting the other cycle of Scry lands. That's it. We got Slaughter Priest of Mogis for a black and a red. When creature Minotaur Shaman. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, it gets Slaughter Priest of Mogis gets +2/+0 till end of turn. 2 colorless, sack another creature or an enchantment. Slaughter Priest of Mogis gains first strike until end of turn. It's a 2/2. This is going to be in Rakdos Aristocrats or Sacrifice outlets, especially with a Judith on the field. I have a strange plan that I'm going to do for the first few weeks of this release, and it's going to be Rakdos Sacrifice stuff. I'll be able to do some good things with that for the first few weeks until the meta corrects itself, and then it's right back to is it draw 2. Speaking of which, Mischievous Chimera. A blue and a red, is it colors, for an enchantment creature, Chimera. It's a 2/2 flyer, and whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Scry 1. This might be a fit in my draw 2 deck because I am playing spells on my opponent's turn. Mainly to draw cards to get 2 cards to activate all my draw 2 abilities on every turn. And then we have Hate Hound. I think this card is going to be a sleeper. It's going to spike in price And everybody thinks that as well. It's a Kuneros, Hound of Erithos. It's 1, a white, and a black for a legendary creature, Hound. It's a 3/3. It's got Vigilance, Menace, and Lifelink, meaning it doesn't tap to attack. It needs to be blocked by 2 or more creatures, and you gain life for whatever damage it does. But here's the keywords, or the key phrases. Creature cards and graveyards can't enter the battlefield, so that kills Escape, that kills Arclight Phoenix, that kills Graveyard Recursion decks, that kills Dredge in Modern. And then players can't cast spells from their graveyards, so that kills Jumpstart as well, and a bunch of other shenanigans that you can do with your graveyards, especially in Standard. This also kills, I think this also shuts down stacks as well, but it's the hate card. It's the hate dog for the set, so pick up your play sets when you can. Then we have the real Ashiok, and this is why I'm going to get some stuff for it. Ashiok Nightmare Muse is a 3 to blue and a black. Only 1 less mana than the Planeswalker deck. It's a 5 loyalty. For +1, create a 2/3 blue-black Nightmare Creature token with whenever this creature attacks or blocks, each opponent exiles the top 2 cards of their library. -3, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, then that player exiles a card from their hand. -7, you may cast up to 3 face-down cards. You may cast up to 3 face-up cards your opponents own from exile without paying their mana cost. The -7 is a bonkers ability, but I don't know, I just kind of like the other one better. It's only 1 more. It's going to be easily accessible in Planeswalker decks. It's not that hard to get like 2 of them, because I think, you know, the big Ashiok, you don't want to rock 4 of those out. You want to rock 2 or 3 of them out. Shouldn't be your main win con. Mill's your main win con. But anyway, it's a good card, but I don't know. I just like the other one better. Then we have Crocus, Titan of Death's Hunger. Red and a black for a legendary creature, Elder Giant. When Crocus enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it escapes. Meaning if you cast it from your hand, it immediately sacrifices itself the second it hits the battlefield, but it does hit the battlefield. This is important. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, each opponent discards a card, then each opponent who didn't discard a non-land card this way loses 3 life. Cast it and kill it turn 2. Okay. Immediately, but you've gotten rid of a card in hand, and if they didn't discard a non-land card this way, they lose 3 life. And then it's got Escape, and this is one of the new mechanics. It escapes for 2 black and 2 red, and exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. Basically, you tap your red, 2 black, get rid of 5 cards from your graveyard, and you cast Crocus from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is why the hate dog is going to be a good card in this set. And it's also a 6/6. Fortunately, they didn't do anything stupid and give it haste. I'm looking at you, questing beast. Our second planeswalker that we're going to be looking at is Calyx, Destiny's Hand for 2, a green, and a white. 4 loyalty planeswalker. +1, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an enchantment card from among them and put that card into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If you're playing green and white, that's an auto hit, especially in this set because you're playing a lot of enchantments, and also a lot of your creatures are considered legendary enchantment creatures or enchantment creatures. So it's a guaranteed hit, unless you get really unlucky like I have. -3, exile target creature or enchantment you don't control until target enchantment you control leaves the battlefield. And then -7, return all enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. So yeah, empty out your creatures, protect Calyx, wait for the ultimate to happen, and then get all your creatures from your graveyard back. It's pretty good. This one is Elysian Caryatid. It's a 1 and a green, and this is your new ramp, your mana dorks. It's a creature plant 1/1. Tap to add 1 mana of any color. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, add 2 mana of any 1 color instead. Wizards has said time and time again, they slipped up and had to reprint Llanowar Elves and Dominaria, but they're done with the green 1-drop mana dorks. And for good reason. But green's mana ramp when it comes to its creatures has been the new philosophy for mana ramp in green when it comes to creatures, as the last year or so has proven. And I'm okay with it. I mean, I don't mind 1 mana dorks, but to each their own. Hydra's Growth is an enchantment aura, 2 and a green, and it chants creature, and when Hydra's Growth enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Enchanted Creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, double the number of +1/+1 counters on Enchanted Creature. This is an enchantment that will make a creature get stupid real fast. So, enters the battlefield, say I got a 1/1. I put a 1/1 counter on it. I go to my next upkeep. Okay, now it's got 2 counters on it. It lived. My next turn, it's got 4 counters on it. You can see where it's going. It's simple math. Then Wolf, Willow, Haven, 1 and a green for another enchantment. Alright, it's an enchant land this time. Whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds another green mana. Okay, so double up the mana on the land. And an ability I don't think is ever going to get used, unless you're playing Tulsimer. 4 and a green, sacrifice Wolf, Willow, Haven, and create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. Activate this ability only during your turn. I think it's never going to get used because it's so expensive to destroy your mana ramp for only a 2/2 for, yeah. If it was like a 1 and a green or a 2 and a green, yeah, I can see that happening, but not for 5. Then we have Mantle of the Wolf. It's 3 and a green, another enchantment creature. We're obviously in the green part. Enchanted Creature gets +4/+4. And when Mantle of the Wolf is put into graveyard from the play, create 2 green wolf creature tokens. I kind of suspect Tulsimer decks might be coming back on the menu, folks. Because that's actually a really good card. It replaces itself with the damage and wolves. And if you have Tulsimer out, that's 4 damage you could possibly do, and gain 6 life, too. And then the stupidest card, in my honest opinion, of the entire set for green. Nyx Bloom Ancient, 4 and 3 green, for an enchantment creature elemental. Oh, fun fact, also, if it's an enchantment creature, if you have disenchants, it still kills it, if I'm not wrong. And I don't think I'm wrong on that one. Anyway, it's a 5/5 trample, and if you tap a permanent for mana, it produces 3 times as much mana instead. So if I tap a forest, I make 3 forests. If I tap a Llanowar Elves for a forest, I make 3. And I think this is right, but they did print the elves in Modern Horizons that taps for 3 green mana. That's 9 mana now. Just saying. Now we're going into the red part of this. We have Storm's Wrath. It's 2 and 2 red, and it deals 4 damage to each creature in each planeswalker. There's your removal, folks. It's a sorcery, but there's your board wipe for this set for red, which it's going to need. Because I don't think red got many good cards. I'm going to be wrong on that, and people are going to correct me, but whatever. Then we have the first of the inventions that I'm mentioning. I'm not mentioning every good card in the set, by the way. Perferos Intervention, X and a red. You get to choose one. Create an X1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of next end step. Or it deals twice X damage to target creature or planeswalker. Another premium removal set. You know, tap it for on your turn 3 and deal 4 damage to a planeswalker, or turn 4, kill a big kill one of those big 6/6 tramplers that green produces, or tap it for 2, and I just realized this, on your turn, kill Questing Beast. Ochs of Agonis, 3 and 2 red. When Ochs of Agonis enters the battlefield, discard your hand, then draw 3 cards. The draw 3 cards is important for me, and I play draw 2. But it can escape for only 2 red and the exiling of 8 other cards from your graveyard. And then it escapes with a +1/+1 counter on it. It's a 4/2 creature. If my hand's empty and I cast this, I get to draw 3 cards, and then I get to, play that hand, dump that out, and then escape it and draw 3 more cards. That's living the dream, folks, in one turn, but it can definitely happen over the course of 2 or 3 turns. Then we have another reprint that we haven't seen in a while. Oh, by the way, we're in the black portion of the color pie now. And this is Underworld Dreams for 3 black. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Underworld Dreams deals 1 damage to that player. Well, shit, black found their answer for my draw 2 deck. It's also an uncommon, but still, found an answer. Crap. Cling to Dust. 1 black for an instant. Exile target creature from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, gain 3 life. Otherwise, draw a card. Then it escapes for 3 and a red and exiling 5 other cards from your graveyard. So it's a repeatable gain 3. It's any graveyard from a graveyard. It's technically worded any graveyard, not yours. Then Gary's back, folks, but he's been upshifted to a uncommon. Gray Merchant of Asphodel, aka Gary. 3 and 2 black. When Gary, I can't even say gray. It's always Gary. Anyway, we're gonna stick with it. When Gary Merchant of Asphodel enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Ouch. This was pretty balls out bonker card in the format when it was legal and devotion was a thing. A good card is a good card. It's upshifted to uncommon, but I have a playset already from a Journey or whatever set it came out in. When I first started getting back into Magic, we have Tiamat. correct me, comment section. Calls the Dead, 2 and a black. It's a saga, our first saga that we're going to go over. As this saga enters, and after your draw step, add a lore counter. Sacrifice it after 3. So its first 2 steps, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then you may exile a creature or enchantment card from your graveyard. If you do, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Its third step, gain X life and scry X, where X is the number of zombies you control. Zombies might be making a comeback, folks, even though they never left. We have Nightmare Shepard, 2 and 2 black for an enchantment creature demon for a 4/4 flyer with an interesting static ability. When another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it, so you don't have to, but you can if you want to. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1 and it's a nightmare in addition to its other types. Anything with an ETB trigger, you can have it die and then have it come back as a token, and that EBT trigger still enters. That would be entered the battlefield. I'll just do what I'm more familiar with. Say I have Siege Gang Commander, even though it's not legal in standard, but pretend, come with me on this journey of discovery. And Nightmare Shepard's out. Somebody blasts my Siege Gang Commander to death. It goes in the graveyard. It dies, but I can exile it and then make a copy of Siege Gang Commander and get 3 more 1/1 Goblin tokens, because that's what Siege Gang Commander does when it comes into play. So anything with the EBT trigger definitely likes Nightmare Shepard. Now we're in blue. We're almost done, folks. Thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention to my stupid ass for the better part of, at this moment, 30 some odd minutes so far. I warned you, though, it was going to be a long one. We have Naiad of Hidden Coves, 2 and a blue for an enchantment creature, Nymph. As long as it's not your turn, spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. This might make it in my draw 2 deck, because this will definitely cheapen the amount of mana I have to spend. And casting Throw of Possibility on my opponent's turn for 1 red mana seems stupid to me, because in that deck I have at least 4 open slots that I can fit things in to change and switch up. Then we have Omen of the Sea, 1 and a blue, and I think this is the only Omen I'm going over because I think it's the only one that's decent. It's flashed, it's an enchantment, and when Omen of the Sea enters the battlefield, scry 2, then draw a card. 2 and a blue, sacrifice Omen of the Sea, scry 2. I think it's the best Omen in the set. Then we have Glimpse of Freedom, draw a card. 1 and a blue, and it's an instant. It escapes for 2 and a blue, and exiling 5 other cards from your graveyard. Yeah, Glimpse of Freedom is probably going to be like the replacement for, I'm forgetting the name of the card and I use it all the time. Yeah, it's the blue jumpstart draw card from Ravnica, the new Ravnicas that just came out. That's going to be a replacement when rotation happens. Then we have Midoma's Prophecy, 1 and a blue for a saga. This is a 4-chapter saga, though. First part, scry 2. Second part, choose a card name. Third part, this is where it gets interesting. When you cast a spell with the chosen name for the first time this turn, draw 2 cards. Okay, so I'm playing my Izzet deck. I can just say Shock on the second chapter, then go into 3, shock somebody to the face. Doesn't even have to resolve. I still get to draw 2 cards. And then 4, look at the top card of each player's library. That's more of a Commander Brawlish type of thing. But I like the first 3 chapters, and the 4th one's just kind of, I get to know what you do next turn. And then the most bonkers counterspell. This is an uncommon. It's Whirlwind Denial. It's a 2 and a blue, and it's probably going to be your mythic common. And by that I mean it's going to be like a $3 uncommon for a long time. It's an instant. For each spell and ability your opponent control, counter it unless that opponent pays 4 colorless mana. So if there's a spell on the stack and you have a couple cards that have abilities on them on the field, first off, just countering the spell with the 1 spell on the stack, they have to pay 4 mana. Okay, so if you have like Heliod, where, target creature gains lifelink, its activated ability, okay, now you got to pay 8. So it's basically a good counterspell will be good counterspell. Then Wavebreak Hippocamp, 2 and a blue, and I want to play this just so I can say I am playing a Hippocamp, and it's an enchantment creature, Horsefish. Sign me the fuck up, boys. I want to play Horsefish so bad. It's a 2/2, and whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, draw a card. Okay, so if I cast an Opt on my opponent's turn, and I'm playing my draw 2 deck, well then I just cast my first spell on my opponent's turn. I get to draw a card, and then I get to draw another card from Opt. Okay, there's my draw 2 trigger for my Izzet draw 2 deck. And then another one that I might feel goes into the draw 2. It's the Nader Kraken. It's 1 and 2 blue for a 2/3. Kraken. And whenever I draw a card, which I do a lot in Draw 2, you may pay 1 colorless mana. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on Nader Kraken and create a 1/1 blue tentacle creature token. I might slam 2 of those in there as my replacement for Saheeli. Straight up, that's going to be my slot for Saheeli, the new slot for Saheeli. It's going to be Nader Kraken because it does the same thing, and I'm more concerned about drawing cards and not casting spells. Saheeli is a 3-drop planeswalker that can copy a creature on the field, but if I can poop out more tokens in my somewhat token-based deck, I'm more the better for it. Ashiok's Erasure, 2 and 2 blue. It's an enchantment. Flash. When it enters the battlefield, exile target spell. So say they try to counterspell something of mine. I flash in Ashiok's Erasure. It gets exiled. Your opponents can't cast spells with the same name as exiled card. It could be anything. It's a target spell. So if they want to cast their big mana ramp green guy that makes everything tap for 3 mana more, I can just Ashiok's Erasure it, and as long as it's on the field, they can't play another one. And when it leaves the field, return the exiled card to its owner's hand. A good card is good card. Those type of effects always are good, and they always find their way in control. Then we have a weird one, Protein Thermage. It's a 1 and a blue for a human wizard. It's a 1/1. It's got Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under my control, I may have Protean Thermage become a copy of another target creature, except it has this ability. That'll also be the replacement for Saheeli Rai as well, because I can just copy my Ironcrag Pyromancers, which is what I do with Saheeli Rai. Then we are now in white, which is the last few cards we have, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, that's right. We're almost at the end of this sweet, sweet podcast, and you get to stop hearing my dumb voice. I'm surprised I've only sworn a handful of times this episode. Hashtag not sponsored. Hashtag this is definitely not for This is not children friendly. It's just because of my language. We have the Birth of Miletus. For 1 and a white, it is a saga, a 3-chapter saga. And I like it. It's definitely a good saga for mono white. Step 1, search your library for a basic plains card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your library. Okay, we're guaranteeing ourselves a land. Chapter 2, create a 0/4 colorless wall artifact creature token with Defender. Okay, we're protecting ourselves as well. Chapter 3 is weak, though, gain 2 life. But I like the first 2 chapters, and getting land in your hand is more important than anything else, because we have shit like this at Uncommon. Baller Alert. This card is going to be the white version of Gary, Merchant of Asphodel. Reverend Hoplite, 4 and a white. When it enters the battlefield, create a number of 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens equal to your devotion to white. It's a 1/2. This is white's version of Gary, Merchant of Asphodel. Come at me. I don't care. That's my opinion. I really think this kind of makes white devotion just insane. You can flood the board. Yeah. Oof. I saw this card and I was like, shit, you printed that at Uncommon? There goes another curse. And we have Heliod's Punishment, 1 and a white for an enchantment aura, and I like this one. It's a different take on the can attack or block enchantments that white is infamous for. When it enters the battlefield with 4 task counters on it. Enchanted Creature can attack or block, it loses all abilities and has tap to remove a task counter from Heliod's Punishment. Then if it has no task counters on it, destroy Heliod's Punishment. So you can basically cancel out an opponent's creature for 4 turns, which is pretty vital in the game. It's not completely removing it, but it's definitely there. And if they want to put the work in to get rid of it and get their creature back, they're going to have to put some work in and get their creature back, because it's doing nothing. It can't attack or block, so there we go. I could be wrong. This is a reprint. Idealic Tutor, and I need as many of these as possible for Commander. It is 2 and a white. It's a sorcery. Search your library for an enchantment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. I think that's going to be big in this set, but not as big as it could be. It's going to be big for Commander players. They want tutor effects. The more tutors that you have access to, the better your chances are of finding the cards that you need. Simple math is simple math. We have Elsbeth Conquers Death, another saga, 3 and 2 white, 3 chapters. Exile target permanent an opponent controls with converted mana cost 3 or greater. Okay, I like that one. Chapter 2, non-creature spells your opponent cast cost 2 more to cast until your next turn. Okay, we're in a control phasey here, folks. Return target creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter or a loyalty counter on there. Okay, so you mean to tell me if I have Elsbeth, the new Elsbeth, the good Elsbeth, in the graveyard, I don't have to escape it? If I have Conquer's Death out, I can just cheat her back in? Sign me up, boys and girls. The new Elsbeth, don't sleep on that card. I'm just saying, get your play sets now, because I think we're talking about her in not this card, but the next card coming up. This card is Shatter the Sky. It's 2 and 2 white. For a sorcery, each player who controls a creature with power 4 or greater draws a card, then destroy all creatures. Alright, weird flex white, but thanks for the card. This is the card that I think is going to be the card of the set, because it's Elsbeth, Sun's Nemesis. 2 and 2 white for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. -1, up to 2 target creatures you control get +2/+1 till end of turn. -2, create 2 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens. -3, gain 5 life. Her escape cost is 4 and 2 white, and exiling 4 other cards from your graveyard. You can constantly keep getting this card out all the time from the graveyard. And you can also cheat it if you have a Chapter 3 resolving in an Elsbeth Conquers Death saga out on the field. This card is stupid. This card's going to be bonkers. This card is going to be probably the premier white card in White Devotion, because you have 3 options: pumping your creatures up for on a turn, making more creatures, or gaining life. All 3 are actually somewhat good abilities. The -2 is protection for Elsbeth, worst case scenario. And then if they live, all right, well, make them 3/2s. But yeah, this is my favorite card of the set. When I got back into Magic, I was playing Elsbeth, Sun's Champion. That card was so good. And this card is good. And I like the fact that she's actually using a Phyrexian oil covered spear now. And if you know the lore, that ain't gonna be good. But we'll see what happens with the storyline. And our final card, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Dahmer from Zero Trade and Value Productions proudly brings to you the final card of this review. And we've already talked about it. Heliod Suncrowned, 2 and a white. For a legendary enchantment creature, God. Indestructible. As long as your devotion to white is less than 5, Heliod isn't a creature. When you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or enchantment you control. 1 and a white, another target creature gains lifelink until end of turn. That's the Wombo combo for Walking Ballista, but I think Heliod is the one that gets banned. And Pioneer. At the moment, I don't think much is going to get banned from this set, hopefully. I hope we don't have another Oko Once Upon a Time scenario in Standard, but nobody has really been saying that that's what they feel or think could happen so far. I haven't really checked the chatter on the social medias as of late. Been a little busy playing games and whatnot, selling games and whatnot, and playing Magic and prepping up for this Theros pre-release event. I hope everybody who does pre-release events has a wonderful time. I hope you open up all the baller cards that you want. May your foils be amazing pulls, and may you win out every game of pre-release, but more importantly, have fucking fun with it. This is Dahmer for Zero Trade and Value Productions, and may your top deck always be mythic.